Hello, my name is Devaney, and thanks for tuning into Short Not Sweet. This week I will be doing part 2 of my fashion breakdown of HBO's House of the Dragon. For part 1, I'll link that below. That covered episodes 1 through 5, and then this week I'll be talking about episodes 6 through 10. If you haven't seen those episodes, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, go back and watch them and then come back and watch this video. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with the Velaryon family. First I want to talk about Rhaenys Velaryon. If you notice in the first 5 episodes, she was clad in like a lot of like blue. Those are the colors of her husband's house, the Velaryons. They're a seafaring house, you know, lots of blues. I think their sigil is like the seahorse. So we saw her in like a light blue gown in the first couple of episodes, In these episodes, she's in a lot of mourning. So she loses her daughter, Laena, she loses her son, Lenore. Then her husband goes off to war for like 6 years for God knows what reason. And the Stepstones shout again with those Stepstones. And, you know, he comes back, he's injured, he's feared that he's gonna die. She's in a lot of mourning. So you see her in a lot of these episodes clad in an all black gown. Very sad. She's going through a lot right now. And then in episode 8, you know, she's still in the mourning black, but she has kind of a little bit of power added back because she has the power to side with Rhaenyra or side with the High Towers about who should be the heir to Driftmark, because, you know, it's presumed that Corlys Velaryon is gonna die. And she decides to side with Rhaenyra, and that really feeds interestingly into episode 9, where she gets kind of like kidnapped by the High Towers after Viserys is presumed dead, her cousin King Viserys. And then, you know, she's kidnapped, she's still wearing that mourning black, and then somehow she breaks away, she gets free, and she breaks away on her dragon Meleys, and you see her just resplendent in this, like, I don't know if it's iron, I don't know what she had on. It looked like this enameled metal breastplate in this bright red with the gold detailing. She looks great. And you see her again in that outfit in episode 10 of the series, where she brings word from King's Landing to Dragonstone, Rhaenyra at Dragonstone, to let her know that King Viserys is dead and that Alicent and the High Towers have usurped Rhaenyra's throne. And you see her still in that powerful red and gold. And I think it's just kind of almost like the black that she was wearing was not only just a color of mourning, but it also was a precursor, like that little bit of foreshadowing that eventually she's gonna side with the blacks. You know, it's the greens, the High Towers, versus the blacks, Rhaenyra. And just kind of, it's kind of seemed like a little bit of foreshadowing. And then she's kind of triumphant. She's escaped King's Landing. She's decided to side with the blacks because she doesn't like what she hears from Alicent. And just that show of loyalty and that show of power. I really just loved seeing her on her dragon, just super cool, breaking out, you know. But again, she decides, so she had the power when she broke out of the dragon pit with her dragon. She could have killed everyone, and she does kill a lot of, you know, small folk, but I guess they don't really count. But she could have killed the High Tower. She could have killed the new King Aegon. And she decides, you know, I had that power to do that when I was on my dragon. But that first blow, it's not mine to deal. It wasn't my place to start this war. We knew it was going to happen, but it's not mine to start. And so I just thought that was so interesting. That character, I'm really interested to see. I think the actress is doing such a good job. And I'm going to be interested to see how, you know, she decided to side with Rhaenyra, how that's going to go in the future. So let's go ahead and get into another character, Laena. And the thing about Laena, which is she's Laena Velaryon and marries Daemon Targaryen, we just don't get enough time with that character. Like, I would love to see more of her, but, you know, she passes away in episode 6. And so it's just, just in that short time that she's here and that we get to see her, there's really a lot to parse. We see her in like really beautiful, I guess it's because she's in Pentos. She's in a lot of brocade, like beautiful detailing outfits. You see her riding Vhagar. I mean, she's just so cool. I love that character so much. In that short time we get to see her, she's got her big, huge white hair. She's on her dragon. You see her like, you know, in her sport dragon wear. But then you also see her at the dinner table, fabulous in a little brocade gown. Then you see her in her little, nightie, just her little like dressing gown that she's walking around, talking to Damon, her husband, talking to her daughters, just super fabulous. And next, we want to talk about Lena's children, Bela and Raina. Bela is later in her life, she's fostered or she's taken to ward by her grandmother on Driftmark. And she's got hair like her mother, like really big, that big, curly white hair. And we also see, because she's living on Driftmark, she's wearing that Valerian blue, which I thought was really cool, juxtaposed again with Raina, who is living with her father on her father and Rhaenyra on Dragonstone, and she's wearing that red and black of the Targaryens. So you see the different houses and how they're brought together there. And she's got the white dreads, like super long white dreads like her grandfather, which I think will be interesting. There's other characters, other Valerians that do have the white dreads, but Corlys and Raina, they have like the really long ones. And I don't know, I'm like, Corlys is such a fierce character. I want to know more about Raina. I want to flesh out both Bela and Raina. They seem really interesting. They kind of just communicate through like smiles and nods. No, I want more on those characters in the next season. So keeping my fingers crossed for that. Next, I'm going to talk about Daemon Targaryen. Daemon, it's funny because in earlier episodes, he does have that long, luscious, blonde, Legolas wig on. But as the season goes on, you see he has like his little bob. And he seems to be maintaining it in the second half of the season. And it almost seems like he's like cutting off some of the old like mess he used to involve himself in. He's kind of like, he's being a dad, he's hanging out with the little dragon eggs, doing all that. He's got his little hobbies up until the war starts, and we'll get into that later. But he's kind of calmed down, and that shorter hair seems to be a marker of that. Another thing I wanted to touch on, just that Valyrian wedding outfit that him and Rhaenyra have on. Just a lot, just a whole lot. I mean, between like the fire in the background, the cutting of the skin, and then the making out with the blood on their lips, the wiping the blood on the face. Then they take drinks from a goblet. Lord, please tell me that goblet had wine in it. Please don't tell me it had blood in it, because I can't deal with it. I cannot deal with it, child. It's too much. And then they had like those beige and with red detailing robes on. Very pagan-like, very interesting. I guess that's like a traditional, like a Valyrian garb they had on. A lot going on, but very in keeping with the two of them. I mean, if you're going to marry your niece, you don't just wear a regular outfit. You're going to wear some out there kind of things. And I guess this definitely fits the bill. All right, so just for a second, I do want to mention Laenor Velaryon. He also had the long dreadlocks. And not the long dreadlock, but he also had dreadlocks similar to Corlys Velaryon, his father. But I think I had mentioned in the last video that I did on this, it's almost like he's like a pale imitation of his father with those shorter dreadlocks. He's kind of trying to, he's struggling with his identity, with his sexuality and everything, who he's supposed to be. Even in, I believe, episode 7 of the series, he's kind of like, I wish the gods had not made me how I was. And, Rhaenyra says to him, no, I'm glad they made you how you are. You're a good man. But he's just struggling all the time, trying to fit in, trying to find himself in the society, find happiness. And then at the end of that episode, he shaves the dreads off because he's got to go incognito. He's on the run now. And I almost felt like that was a good thing. It just becoming his own man, finding his own path. And I felt like, in addition to being something that marks him being on the run, it's maybe even a marker of him forging his own path, because that's definitely something that he really needs. Now, quickly talking about the kids, because every episode, there's a new child, there's a new baby, just so many kids just being born. And every episode, the other kids that was already in the prior episode, they get older by like 10 years, child. They're just aging all the damn time. So quickly on the kids, we will talk about Aemon. Now, Aemon is really interesting because he seems to really be like clashing up with Daemon Targaryen. You see they have the similar hair, whereas Daemon has cut his off short. Aemon seems to have that long blonde Legolas wig on now. I guess they just passed it from one character to the other. And as Daemon has kind of calmed down, you see Aemon just revving up, just crazy. It's always something crackling underneath the surface with that character. I mean, and I think episode 10, he takes off his eye patch and we see that this boy has a sapphire as an eyeball in there. Now, why you would need a sapphire eyeball as well as an eye patch, I don't know. I don't know what that's about, but that's what the child decided to wear, and we just gonna have to go with it. Very strange, but very striking. I find that actor to be very interesting. He has like these cheekbones just like cut like glass, like, oh my goodness. And he's got these one eye. But you know, that eye is doing a lot of acting, child. He is very interesting, very creepy. And he seems to be clad in a lot of a lot of black, a lot of maybe even leathers, you know. But I guess because he's always trying to fight somebody, he's always ready to just pounce and just hit somebody, or maybe, you know, attack them with his dragon unintentionally. I have to touch on my good sis Helena Targaryen. She is so kooky. I love her. She's so interesting. And maybe she's even like on the spectrum. I don't know if that's what they're trying to hint at. I think they're also trying to hint at her being like someone that makes prophecies, you know, some type of supernatural character. And the fact of the matter is, it's so weird that no one ever listens to her. Her fashion, I can't really say too much about it, but that character as a whole, I just want somebody to listen to her, because sis is not miss. She always gets it right. Okay, come on. Prophecy after prophecy after prophecy, she's getting it right, and nobody is taking notes. I hope that Aemon is taking notes. He seems to have the most sense in that family, so maybe he will. And then last, I need to talk about Aegon Targaryen. So for much of like their childhood, all of them were clad in that green, that Hightower green. I'm guessing Alicent had a lot to do with that. But as they get older, they're not as much in the green, right? And especially once Aegon is about to get coronated, you see him, and it's almost striking to see it going from that green to that black. He's got the black with the 3 dragon sigil on his chest. And you see that he knows he should not be king. The boy is he should not be king. But what gives him the power to decide, okay, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be king. I should, this is something that I can do. What happens is his mom hands him his father's dagger, Valyrian steel dagger. And that little symbol, that gives him the confidence to go up there. He's given Aegon the Conqueror's crown as well as his sword. He's clad in the Targaryen black. He has the dagger. And just those couple of things, coupled with the, the crowd cheering for him, gives him the confidence to go, hey, maybe I can be king after all. He cannot. He should not. He ought not. Okay. Now, Rhaenyra's kids, really quick. In episode 6 and forward, we see them really clad in the black. And nothing too crazy, but what I did want to note about them is in episode 10, once the war is jumping off, we do see them in that black and red, and they're in matching little doublets or whatever, black and red little outfits, just as they're about to be sent off to be envoys, and just as we lose little Luke. But just markers of things are getting serious. I need you to just be loud and proud, red and black, Targaryen gang. This is what we're doing. And you just really see it in that outfit choice. Next, talking about Viserys. In the last episode I did talk about how Viserys is very sickly, and so he uses fashion to project power, and that really doesn't change here because Viserys is sicker than ever. The boy is going through it, okay? Every episode he has lost at least one more limb, teeth looking terrible, just looking bad. He's not doing okay, all right? And just these little touches that they put on him to project that power. I'll start with episode 8, when Rhaenyra comes back to King's Landing, hasn't seen her dad in maybe 6 years or so. And he's bedridden. I don't think she even realized that he was bedridden. He's so sick he can't even be before the small council. And he's wearing, while he's in his bed, he's wearing like this, this all gold, fluttery, ruffly tie. It looked like the shirt from, like a gold version of the shirt from Seinfeld or something. Just very ruffly. And this is a marker of what? Royalty, just very ornate, just a symbol of power. Like, I'm sick in bed, but I'm still the king, you know? And so when Rhaenyra comes into town, she asks him for help. Her son's claim to Driftmark is being called into question. He again clads himself in all the markers of power to go before the court in the throne room, puts on his beautiful, you know, kingly robes and all that, such manner of things. He has his dagger strapped across, you know, as he always has it right in plain view. He's got his golden crown, and he also has a golden mask covering half of his face that's actually missing, like an eye and part of it. He looks terrible, y'all. You know, and he's got this golden mask covering that. And these are just his markers of power. Like, hey, I'm sickly, but I have all of these things to let you know that I'm still that girl, you know? And so when he goes before the court and Vaemond Valerion calls out Rhaenyra's children as bastards, what happens? He goes to pull out that dagger. Now, I don't know how much fighting he could have did. I really don't know. But he still had that marker of power, and he still was, you know, looking like he was about to use it, which I found super interesting. And another interesting part is we're talking about power, but when you juxtapose that against family and love, so at the dinner later, after all of this is settled in the court, he decides to take off that mask, take off that marker of power to show that vulnerability to his family and implore them, please get along. Like, please, I'm dying. Like, half my face is gone, y'all. Please, I need y'all to get along for the sake of one another. Just for the love, if you love me, then please show some love to one another. And it actually works for about 5 seconds, but still it works. Just that show of vulnerability, that show of love, by removing that mark of power. Now we got to get to the two main girlies, of course, starting with my good sis Rhaenyra. The first time we see the adult Rhaenyra, remember, she never wanted to have kids. She never wanted this. But of course, she ends up having kids. The first time we see her, she's giving birth to Joffrey. Blood, sweat, tears. We're seeing this happen. And she's forced to, you know, get herself together, get dressed, and present the baby over to Alicent, you know. And it's just so interesting because when she's leaving Alicent's apartment after showing the baby to her and her father, you see this trail of blood because she's still bleeding from where she had given birth. And then the end of this season, you know, another birthing bed, another battlefield for a woman. And it's really interesting because it's juxtaposed against the beginning of this war, against the literal battlefields to come, right? The way childbirth is presented to her is as a battlefield, and she is about to wage a war of her own. So I also wanted to acknowledge, just on a lighter note, that Rhaenyra, she's the queen of outerwear. She has got a great coat collection. A few of my favorites were when she's plotting on Driftmark with her to-be husband Daemon. Another one was this one also looked a little pagan-y, similar to her wedding outfit when she's in the Godswood with Rhaenys. And then there's another good one when she's arriving in King's Landing in episode 8. Just a lot of good little outerwear there. So starting in episode 6, we see her in like the pale blue of her husband's house. But as time goes on, so we see her like later in the episode 6, she's in like a pale gold dress. And she's at the small council talking with Alicent and tries to negotiate a marriage pact between the houses. And of course, Alicent doesn't go for it. And Rhaenyra had just given birth. Still, she's probably breastfeeding, and she ends up leaking through the top of her dress. And Alicent kind of uses that as a moment to undermine her in public, you know? But I think that's the moment when Rhaenyra realizes negotiating with Alicent, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's when she also decides to go back to Dragonstone. And after that, most of her gowns are in that Targaryen red and black. Maybe it's all red. Maybe it's red with maybe some gold detailing. Maybe black with some red and gold detailing. That's when we see her stick to the Targaryen colors, kind of as that show of strength, power, loyalty to her side of the family, you know, and just having to show that to the outside world, which, of course, we see that as the the actual Dance of Dragons is starting to be launched. Now we got to get to my not so good sis, Alicent Hightower. And in episode 6, she's still clad in that green. Of course, I'm sure you remember episode 5, she walked out in that beautiful green dress, declaring her loyalty to House Hightower above all else. And she's still doing that in episode 6. Super fabulous. She's wearing like this little gown with a little sleeve cut out, just giving us little skin moments. Again, she's in the green rather than the colors of her husband's house. Sticking to that. I love there's some gold bead detailing on the green dress. And then in episode 7, she has like a little chain detailing on it. Very cute. I cannot knock Alicent's fashion choices. I can knock a lot else and I will, but not the fashion. But at the end of episode 7, she reveals herself to everyone. So of course there's the incident where Aemon becomes Vhagar's rider, and then he ends up fighting his nieces and nephews, and they get in a knockdown drag out, and he ends up losing his eye. And in response to that, Alicent is livid. She decides that in retribution, Luke's little eye needs to come out as well. That's her response to this. She steals Viserys's Valyrian steel dagger. Of course, he's always wearing that darn thing. And launches herself at Rhaenyra, ends up cutting her arm. And after that, Rhaenyra kind of says, now everybody sees you for who you really are. Her mask really slipped then. This image that she has of herself as being pious and responsible and all this. She even says, Alicent even says when she's yelling at Rhaenyra, what of duty, what of sacrifice, And it just, you just see her, I don't know who she's sacrificing in this moment, but, just kind of like all that imagery just slips away as you see like that raw anger there. And her father, when he sees this anger, he's kind of like, he likes it. He's like, okay, now we can work with that. That can help us in, the times ahead. But she is repulsed by it. She's so embarrassed. She can't believe. And I wonder, like, is she repulsed by the fact that she felt that angry, that she reacted in that way because of her anger? Or is she so repulsed because people saw that from her? I would imagine it's a little bit of all of those things. But she feels the need to restore this image of piety. And so the next time that we see Alicent, she is still clad in her all green, but super pious. She's got, like, everything's covered up. No cutouts anymore, She's got this high shoulder. She's got her hair tied up, very little chaste look, and she's got this gigantic 7-pointed star around her neck. Even the whole castle, she's gotten rid of any like signs of Targaryen heraldry, markers of that. Everything around is just markers of the faith, markers of the 7 all over. She is this little miss, very holy, just super, literally holier than now, Alicent, right? Just to make up for that indiscretion, now she's draped herself in religion now. Everywhere it has to be. And as the season goes on, she still remains pretty buttoned up. We might see a little bit of skin, but rather than a cutout, it'll be like a little bit of lace covering up, though. It's going to be very subtle from then on. That's just how it is. But this image, I would argue, is really in stark juxtaposition to who she really is. And you can see this just by who she chooses to surround herself with, right? So, I mean, she starts off the season 6 demanding that Rhaenyra present her child to her, right? But then when Rhaenyra shows up with the kid, oh, you didn't have to come. I wanted you to send your kid, but you should have stayed where you were. Like, totally normal behavior, right? And then you see her talking to her new right-hand man, Sir Criston Cole, which, how can a pious person surround himself with a Sir Criston Cole? A man prone to wanton violence. A man who admitted that he fornicated with Rhaenyra, who was a child at the time, A man who has held a grudge with this woman, with Rhaenyra, for over a decade now, for some unknown reason. I mean, get over it, bro. What are we doing? But that's her ally, a man who will kill you as soon as look at you. This is her ally. And it was really interesting to see when Alicent lashed out at Rhaenyra in episode 7, who was right there behind her. Sir Criston Cole, ready to attack right there if someone had not held him back, right? This is just, these are the people that she surrounds herself with, but she considers herself to be decent, right? Another example of this is Sir Larys. And I'm not going to get into too many details on that one. But I mean, if you remember in episode 6, she mentions, all these issues she's having, and she really wants her father back at King's Landing. And when Sir Larys makes that happen, she's horrified. She can't imagine, I said I wanted this, but I don't want you to do what it takes to make this happen. I just want these things to just happen. I mean, when he burns down Harrenhal to kill the old Hands of the King, and ends up also killing Sir Harwin Strong. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't want any of that to happen, of course. And if you notice in episode 6, when she goes to lunch or dinner or whatever, some kind of meal she has with Larys Strong, she takes her shoes off first. Now, I think this is just a foreshadowing for what's to come. Maybe this is the beginning of their weird little feet relationship. But I don't see people in Westeros take their shoes off that often to eat. I've not seen that. And so I really think that is a key moment, just a marker of something is up here. I don't know, but just a key moment there. And then in episode 9, I believe, that's when we see what's really going on. She takes her shoes off again, and then he starts giving some details, and then he pauses. And then she takes her stockings off, and then he gets really into it. And then she just stretches her feet out closer to her, and then I'm not even going to continue. I'm so disturbed now. But these are the people that Alicent surrounds herself by. These are the things she's willing to do. And then last, I wanted to mention, so a lot of the characters over this season, they're mourning, and you see them clad in black or something to register that mourning. But if you notice, Alicent, even after Viserys dies, she's still wearing that green. She's still wearing the colors of her own house. Even at the coronation, where Aegon puts on the Targaryen black, she still can't bring herself to do that. It's very interesting. I mean, even in this moment when she should be mourning her late husband, she's now the Dowager Queen. She's gotten the thing. Her son is on the Iron Throne. He's coronated now. Why not go ahead and wear black just in that moment? But she can't bring herself to do it. She's still wearing the green, the color of her house. She's still representing for that. And it's just, I think it just is all, it really makes sense for that character and for that character's motivations. Because I guess now, she not only can she put her son on the Iron Throne, now she has to keep him there. And that is going to be very interesting next season. Okay, well, that's all I have today. Hopefully this was fun. Let me know in the comments, who you got? You on Team Green? You on Team Black? You can see whose team I am on. You see it here on my face right now. I'm Team Black. Look, I am Team Rhaenyra right now. I'm sure Rhaenyra's going to do some crazy stuff in the future, but I'm definitely on that team right now. I cannot wait for the next season to start. I don't even think they've started filming yet, but I'm really excited to see what comes up next. All right, well, hopefully this was fun. If it was, maybe you'll consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel. I'm going to link to a video where I talk about the first half of this season, episodes 1 through 5 of House of the Dragon, in case you haven't already seen it. You can also check me out at shortnotsweet.com. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, shortnotsweetdevaney. Thank you so much for watching, and please take care of yourself. Bye.